You often hear about what you keep around you being so important. But today we want to talk about who you keep around you being so important. Humans are a lot like trees, you just don't realize it. You are connected by a sea of roots you cannot see or feel or sometimes even sense. These roots, we call them cords, these traffic lines, they move energy to and from the people around you constantly, like a high information data highway. It's instant, and your field is always receiving signal. And this is why so many of you feel so deeply overwhelmed. Removing these aspects can allow your system to breathe, and there are certainly many ways that someone can do this, but that is not why we're here. Sometimes the people around you, the people you make choices to associate with, these people are pouring into your system intensity, anger, frustration, toxicity, and your body is constantly receiving. And so many of you are asking for level ups at this time to move to something new, something more inviting, something uplifting in your life. And we want to plainly say, sometimes you need to remove the drains. Sometimes you need to really look at the vibrational network of your life. You hear people often say you are what you eat, you are what you consume. In a lot of ways, you are the energy being poured into you. And if you have to compensate in other areas of your life to maintain relationships with friendships or partners, we encourage you to look at the energetic cost this might be taking from you, for you only have so much space to be able to hold what truly belongs in your life. And sometimes making the choice to keep something that is drawing all of that energy from every other area of your life is too expensive for you to maintain. And oftentimes we don't look at these things like things that might be making it harder for good things to come into your life. But your life is like a spider web. It requires intricate balance to keep all parts moving as a whole, to allow things to land within it. And we've said many times, if there's a hole in one area of the web, the rest of it must compensate. And we invite you to create a life you don't have to compensate for. And of course, a lot of people want to get to point C, but we have to start at point A, which is removing the drains or finding ways that we don't overcompensate so deeply. And this does not always mean leaving the relationship, but it does always mean boundaries. It does always mean having a deep conversation with yourself on what can and cannot continue. And so many people avoid these conversations because they're afraid of what they're going to find. But the truth is, having boundaries allows people to meet you where you are. It's a choice. A boundary is like a choice on how you want to engage to allow that relationship to continue in a way that is not damaging to you. But so many of you have relationships in your life where you have not set those proper boundaries, where you have not taken a very serious look at the impact at what those energies are costing you. Because it's not just in the constant communication that's going through these cords. It's also in the conflicts, but it's also present when there isn't conflict. Things in your life should add to your web, not detract. And of course, there will always be conflict even in the healthiest of relationships. But what matters is the repair phase. Is there accountability? Is there direct communication? Is there an apology? Is there support? Is there love? Is there a willingness to change? Is there a willingness to discuss? Is there a willingness to build? Any relationship in your life needs to have these features for you to thrive within it. And if you're struggling with being the other person in the dynamic, if you're struggling with being the one that might not communicate, that might avoid, that might take and not give, that might run away, then heed these words as well, because this can show you how you can repair. Every relationship will have conflict. It's in the repair. How do you discharge the energy after a conflict with one another? How do you tell each other that you still matter to each other after a conflict? How do you change? How deeply do you take what was said, sit with it, and understand all of the layers, not just the ones you want to understand, but the ones that you might not be ready to understand, the other perspectives? How much time do you spend understanding and being open? There is so much that is not said within a conflict, and there is so much that is said, but in the layers of what is not said, there is too so much energy. And if you are in a position of deciding whether or not a connection can continue in your life now, we invite you to look at the following points. Is there give and take that is mutual? Are you safe to receive, and are you safe to give with these energies? Is there accountability? Can someone apologize? Can you apologize to them? Is there active listening? Are you able to really hear what they are saying? Not from a place of responding or from a place of anger, but from a place of actual absorption. Are they able to do the same for you? When looking at these points, of course, it might not always be consistent, but these grounded points will be what allows you to create those healthy foundations in your life, those traits. The other one we would mention is direct communication, if possible. But it's not always needed, it's just preferred. If those traits exist, then you have a foundation to build from, and we want to be very clear about this, but if those traits exist or do not exist, if those traits do not exist, there's no foundation to build from. And anything built on a foundation that cannot hold you authentically or safely cannot thrive in your life and may take more energy than it gives. And when something takes much more energy than it pours back into you, especially over years of time, that is a drain. And so, of course, for many of you, there needs to be discussions to see if these traits are active. There are two sides to every single story, and we encourage you to always be aware of what your own side is. And if you ever want to know what your own side is, then we would look at the vibrational patterns, and we would ask questions of your guides or us, the Ascended Masters. We would ask questions like, what's my role? What energy am I bringing to this connection? Measure it against what we've brought to the table here, and you'll see quickly whether or not you're a healthy fit for the other person as well. But if you engage in those traits of accountability, direct communication, reciprocity, no matter what conflict that you come into, you will have a steady foundation to grow from and to heal from. And if you engage in repair, then your love will be able to overcome anything that comes your way. We want you to note that relationships don't need to be perfect to be viable or to be worthy, but they do need these traits. And these traits are like 4 foundational corners to any relationship you have in your life. So if you are wanting to bring something into your life now, and you're pouring so much energy into it, but there is a massive drain occurring in another area of your life, it will be much more difficult. It will be much more slow, and you will be much more stalled, for your life force is going in opposite directions that you might not even be able to contain. And so in this season of closure that is coming for many people now, in this season of reassessing, of updating a soul contract, as we like to call it, we would encourage you to look at which relationships in your life are really feeding you with these traits, and which ones might need some more of these traits from your side or from theirs, to really be able to understand how to fully move forward in a safe and healthy way. All people are deserving of love, and this is something we want to say candidly. But not all people are the right match for the kind of love that the other gives. And so you need to look at the people who can match the love you give, the health you bring to a connection. For this, when you have relationships that embody this, you'll have nowhere to go but up. Thank you.